the Spirit of Watercolor with Linda, and I have something very exciting I found in my drawer of brushes I don't use very much, and I ordered them because a long time ago I found this book and ordered it, and this is going to be our artist for August, okay? And we're going to paint learning some of techniques from Zoltan Szabo's 70 watercolor techniques. This book has a lot of techniques in it, but really a lot of this we've already done, and there are some things though that Zoltan Szabo does different. It's his basic book of learning techniques and making things easier for his students, and he did a lot of beautiful, beautiful artwork, and he also had his own way of using his own brushes and techniques. And actually what's exciting to me is I was going through my drawer and I found some of his brushes that I ordered a long time ago, and I've got 3 of them, and they have a tapered edge, and this one's bigger and softer, and as you get smaller they seem to get stiffer to me, and so I'm trying to remember what I did with them. I know I did use them, and I also used my own brushes to kind of use in a similar way to how he does some beautiful things, making trees and wet on wet, and just getting that brush in and just stroking these brushes and making things just with these brushes. The other thing that Zoltan Szabo did that I had never seen anybody do before, let me show you. I'm going to grab it. This is something you won't believe, I think. Okay, I think I've got them. He painted with palette knives with watercolor. Okay, this is pretty normal for oil painting. I had never heard of it, not in my college classes had I ever used a palette knife with watercolor. So there you go. We've got this, getting ready to look at it. There's a few things that I want to just tell you about this book, and then we'll move on to trying one of his wonderful techniques. I'm not going to do all of these techniques, but from time to time we'll go in and we'll do one. And his book has mainly like examples. He says these are sketches, so you don't feel like you have to finish a full-blown painting, but you can practice the techniques. That's sort of what I've been doing with some of my demonstrations, so that's affirming to me that that's a good way to do it. He does a lot of learning through landscapes, okay, but he also, at the beginning, he talks about his brushes and the knives and so forth that he uses. He also talks about color, which, basic watercolor, the different kinds of paints and the different kinds of, in the color wheel, this types of analogous and all those kinds of paints, the different ways you can use watercolors. And he talks about his basic palette, of which is kind of a nice guide. Of course, I've morphed and evolved over the years to my own paints that I love to use, but it was a good way to get started. So this book you could still get on Amazon. I think it's about $6 or $7. Then he's got one that's mountains, rocks, trees, and that one is maybe around $6 or $7 or $8. Something in that range. And then there's one I have here somewhere about color, having a color be the theme of a painting, which I've got to find, and then we'll focus on that. I really want to try that. It has some gorgeous, I think it also lit me up to some really beautiful colors, and realizing how colors can inspire a beautiful painting as well. So that's it for now. I want to start with one of his most simple techniques, and I think the one I want to start with is just wet on wet, and getting those interesting angled brushes. You can pick up angled brushes like this that don't have to be Zoltan Szabo's brushes, but they just have that chiseled edge where it's kind of at an angle. I have only used these a little bit, but I do remember how I did it, and how you wet on wet, and you create wet on wet trees and wet on wet things in the ground and other ways. So we'll look at that, and I think that's where we'll start. Okay. I've decided to take this portion of my talk about Zoltan Szabo and just call this our artist biography. It's about the artist, and we'll stop and then we'll start a new video on those techniques using those wonderful slanted brushes of his. And there's different things you can do with those. We'll talk about in the next video because this gets so long. But this book, 70 Favorite Watercolor Techniques by Zoltan Szabo, it is one of many books he wrote, and I just wanted to add a little more detail to this inspirational video. That he was born in 1928, I saw in this book, and I also looked up on the web a little history. He was born in Hungary. He left there because of communism, apparently, and you know, that was happening in that time frame. So he moved to Canada, lived there, it said, for 30 years, and then he went and eventually came to America and has taught many classes here and taught and done workshops. So he really lived most of his life here, or many years of his life here, and died in, it said, 2003. So he's written many books, of which, yes, I told you about this being on Amazon. I wanted to also add that I see there's something called thrift books, and they sell a lot of books, including artist books. Some of his other books, color by color, and then there's some painting, watercolor, landscape books. There looks like more than one of those. One about miniature landscapes. So a lot of things that you could look at. Again, this book to order is very inexpensive, really. I would say you're going to average around $6, $7. Quite a bargain these days. The books can be $30, you know, a lot of money. Even more than that for watercolor books. So, and these are very, very good. He's a wonderful artist. If you look at his books, you'll see. So I just wanted to add that into the end of this video and let you know that we're going to stop here, and then we'll take this to the table in the next video, and we'll go into using those slanted brushes. And it says that we can do not just the background trees, but foreground grasses, and a lot of other things, that because I guess the pigment gets very loaded on the brush because it's much shorter bristles, and some of them are hog hair, and it looks, I'll have to find out if there's all that, but one of them for sure was more stiff hairs, I think. And so they do different things for you, maybe make some things a little easier to apply fresh, which is, again, one of those goals I always have, is that fresh watercolor. So I'm hoping this inspires you, like it is me, to get back into this artist. I can't find my other books. I may actually buy a couple more so we can continue learning from this very prominent, wonderful artist. He was purchased, his work was purchased by many other artists, or I'm sorry, prominent people around the world. And so, you know, he was pretty well known, and I'm just hoping that we'll benefit from some of the things that he taught. Okay, so thanks for coming. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and let's move on back to our watercolor table. Okay.